ages over 40. We can rattle names off.
Yeah.
And they always get these heroic roles. Why don't you see women like this? All of my friends in the industry look amazing, and they're quite athletic. Why aren't we all in films like this every year?
For years, Taraji P. Henson looked like the definition of a Hollywood success story. She earned an Oscar nomination, won a Golden Globe, became a television icon as Cookie Lyon, and built a career spanning more than 2 decades. From the outside, it seemed like she had finally reached the top, but behind the awards, the red carpets, and the standing ovations, Taraji says she was fighting battles the public never saw. And now, there are these disturbing signs we can't ignore about Taraji P. Henson. Should we be worried? Let's start from the beginning. The woman who was supposed to have it all, but never really did. For more than 2 decades, Taraji P. Henson built the kind of Hollywood resume that most actors spend an entire lifetime chasing. She burst onto the scene in John Singleton's Baby Boy in 2001, delivering a performance that immediately caught the industry's attention. 4 years later came Hustle and Flow, the gritty drama that earned critical acclaim and an Academy Award for Best Original Song. Then, in 2008, she reached what many actors consider the pinnacle of recognition when she starred opposite Brad Pitt in David Fincher's The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Her portrayal of Queenie earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Yet the role that transformed her into a global cultural phenomenon wouldn't arrive until 2015, when millions of viewers met Cookie Lyon, the fearless, sharp-tongued matriarch at the center of Fox's hit series Empire. For 6 seasons, from 2015 to 2020, Cookie became a pop culture icon, generating viral catchphrases, memes, Halloween costumes, and one of the most recognizable personalities on TV. From the outside, the story appeared almost flawless. Taraji had conquered film, television, and awards season. She became the first Black actress to win the Critics' Choice Television Award for Best Actress in a drama series for Empire in 2015, while the show's premiere attracted nearly 10 million viewers before exploding into one of television's biggest ratings success stories. Empire regularly drew audiences exceeding 15 million across platforms during its peak. She had starred alongside Hollywood heavyweights, collected Emmy, Golden Globe, SAG, and Oscar recognition, and become one of the most respected actresses of her generation. To millions watching from home, Taraji P. Henson looked like someone who had finally beaten the odds. But while fans celebrated Cookie Lyon's confidence and power, Taraji herself repeatedly hinted that her own experience inside Hollywood looked nothing like the glamorous image people imagined. Instead of speaking about luxury or career satisfaction, she began talking about exhaustion, frustration, and battles that never seemed to end. Award nominations, critical praise, and blockbuster projects had not eliminated the obstacles she believed she still faced behind closed studio doors. But how could someone with one of the most recognizable faces in entertainment still feel as though she was fighting simply to receive the respect her resume appeared to command? The first clues emerged years before the headlines exploded. Behind the fame, the Hollywood fight nobody saw. During negotiations for David Fincher's 2008 fantasy drama, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Taraji and her team believed $500,000 was a fair salary. She wasn't asking for millions because she felt audiences were still getting to know her. Instead, the studio countered with just $100,000. After negotiations, her salary increased to approximately $150,000. But that was the final offer. Starring alongside Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett, Taraji was offered the role of Queenie, a performance that would eventually earn her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. The film itself would go on to gross more than $335 million worldwide, receive 13 Academy Award nominations, and win 3 Oscars. Yet Taraji has said that after federal and state taxes, commissions for agents and managers, attorney fees, and other deductions, the amount she actually took home was only a small fraction of what the public assumed. For many actors, an Oscar nomination becomes the moment everything changes. It often leads to larger salaries, leading roles, and significantly greater negotiating power. Taraji expected that her nomination for Benjamin Button would finally mark that turning point. Instead, she later explained that the recognition opened surprisingly few doors. She She insists Benjamin Button was not an isolated incident. Instead, she has described it as part of a pattern stretching across nearly 2 decades. Every major breakthrough seemed to come with the same promise. This would be the project that permanently elevated her career. After Baby Boy in 2001, industry insiders predicted she would become one of Hollywood's next leading actresses. 4 years later, Hustle and Flow reignited those expectations. Then came the Oscar nomination. Yet each apparent breakthrough eventually faded into another round of auditions, negotiations, and proving herself all over again. Rather than experiencing one continuous rise, Taraji says her career often felt like climbing the same mountain repeatedly. She has even pointed to one comparison that stayed with her. Reflecting on Baby Boy, Taraji noted how her co-star Tyrese Gibson's career accelerated into blockbuster franchises. Gibson would eventually become part of both the Fast and Furious series and Michael Bay's Transformers franchise, appearing in films that generated billions of dollars at the global box office. Taraji, meanwhile, found herself accepting smaller projects and television work that didn't receive the same level of industry attention. She has never criticized Gibson's success. In fact, she has said she understood why it happened, but she viewed the contrast as evidence of broader opportunities available to men that were often harder for women, particularly Black women, to access. As the years passed, Taraji's criticism expanded beyond her own experiences. But then, it became all too much for her. The breaking point, when Taraji almost walked away. During the press tour for The Color Purple, the musical drama directed by Blitz Bazawule and released by Warner Brothers on December 25, 2023, Taraji unexpectedly exposed the emotional cost of building a career that millions believed had already reached the top. The film featured an acclaimed ensemble cast that included Fantasia Barrino, Danielle Brooks, Coleman Domingo, Corey Hawkins, H.E.R., Halle Bailey, and Taraji herself. On paper, it should have been a celebratory moment. Instead, it became something else entirely. The turning point came during an emotional interview with Gayle King on Sirius XM. King asked whether reports were true that Taraji had considered walking away from acting altogether. Instead of dismissing the rumor, Taraji answered with remarkable honesty. Fighting back tears, she admitted she was just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost. Those few sentences quickly spread across television, social media, and entertainment news because they shattered a common assumption. Here was an Oscar-nominated actress, Golden Globe winner, and one of television's biggest stars, admitting that success had not freed her from financial and professional struggles. The interview wasn't about one disappointing contract. It was about years of accumulated frustration finally reaching the surface. Taraji explained that the public often misunderstands how Hollywood salaries actually work. Even when actors receive what sounds like a substantial paycheck, they must first pay agents, managers, attorneys, business managers, taxes, and other professional expenses before taking home what's left. She argued that audiences see headlines announcing million-dollar productions, but rarely understand how little can remain after those deductions. More importantly, she insisted that compensation should reflect experience and proven success. After more than 2 decades in the industry, she believed she should not still be negotiating from a position that felt undervalued. The conversation soon expanded beyond salary. Taraji challenged one of Hollywood's longest-standing assumptions, that films led by Black actors supposedly perform poorly overseas and therefore don't justify larger investments. For decades, executives have used international box office potential as a key factor when determining budgets and salaries. Taraji argued that this reasoning no longer matched reality. Films such as Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Creed III, and numerous other Black-led productions have demonstrated strong international appeal. To her, continuing to use the same explanation ignored years of evidence showing that audiences around the world were willing to support diverse casts when studios gave those projects the same level of commitment and marketing. Her comments struck a nerve because she wasn't speaking alone. Actress Gabrielle Union publicly supported Taraji's concerns, praising her for saying out loud what many performers discussed privately. Actress Yvette Nicole Brown also voiced agreement, describing the conversation as one that the entertainment industry could no longer avoid. Meanwhile, The Color Purple director Blitz Bazawule revealed another surprising detail. He said he had to fight to convince the studio to seriously consider the film's leading actresses, despite their established reputations. According to Bazawule, even performers with decades of acclaimed work behind them still faced skepticism during the casting process. As more interviews followed, Taraji disclosed another revelation that surprised fans. She nearly declined The Color Purple altogether. Her reasoning wasn't about the script or the cast, it was about principle. She revealed that she had not received what she considered a meaningful pay increase since starring in Proud Mary in 2018. Accepting another major role under similar financial terms, she believed, would send the wrong message, not only about her own worth, but about what younger Black actresses should expect. She specifically mentioned Fantasia Barrino and Danielle Brooks, explaining that she wanted the next generation to inherit better opportunities than the ones she had spent years fighting for. In her view, accepting less without resistance only ensured the cycle would continue. Despite eventually joining the film, the emotional toll remained. Taraji later admitted that the constant battles over compensation, recognition, and opportunity had begun changing her personality. She said the experience was making her bitter, and she did not like the person she was becoming. Rather than continue carrying that resentment, she made an unusual decision. In 2025, she stepped away from Hollywood for about a month and traveled to Bali, Indonesia. The trip wasn't a vacation designed for publicity. It was a deliberate attempt to disconnect, recover emotionally, and rediscover the joy that first drew her to acting. After spending years fighting Hollywood's invisible battles, Taraji finally chose to stop fighting altogether, if only for a little while. This decision would ultimately lead her toward an entirely new chapter on Broadway. The comeback nobody expected. Then everything changed. In 2025, she starred in August Wilson's Joe Turner's Come and Gone. Produced by the Apollo Theater in partnership with Broadway producers, the revival opened at New York City's Belasco Theater in the spring of 2025 before extending into 2026 because of strong demand. It wasn't another blockbuster movie or prestige television series. It was live theater, where there are no second takes, no camera tricks, and no opportunity to edit mistakes. After years of saying Hollywood had drained her passion, Taraji wasn't returning to the industry that had frustrated her. Instead, she was returning to the craft that had made her fall in love with acting in the first place. The production also marked a significant milestone in her career. Although Taraji had built an impressive resume spanning more than 2 decades, Joe Turner's Come and Gone became her official Broadway acting debut. She portrayed Bertha Holly, the warm but resilient matriarch of a Pittsburgh boarding house in August Wilson's celebrated 1911 drama, a cornerstone of his 10-play Pittsburgh cycle. For an actress already recognized with an Academy Award nomination, Golden Globe, Screen Actors Guild Award, and multiple Emmy nominations, stepping onto Broadway represented a different kind of validation. Live theater is widely regarded as one of the most demanding environments an actor can face, because every performance unfolds in front of a live audience with no possibility of calling cut. It was a challenge few expected her to take at this stage of her career. The schedule alone explains why Broadway is often described as an endurance test. Major productions typically require performers to complete 8 live performances every week, usually with evening shows Tuesday through Sunday, and additional matinees on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. That rhythm continues for months, with very few breaks. Every performance demands consistent vocal projection, emotional intensity, and physical stamina, regardless of fatigue or personal circumstances. Unlike filming a television series, where scenes are shot out of order and actors may have days between emotionally demanding moments, Broadway requires delivering the entire character arc from beginning to end, every single night. For Taraji, who had spent years navigating Hollywood productions, this routine represented an entirely different level of discipline. Something else happened during that Broadway run that surprised longtime fans. The woman who had spent years publicly expressing frustration with Hollywood suddenly sounded happy. In interviews throughout the spring of 2026, Taraji repeatedly said the stage had reminded her why she became an actress in the first place. She explained that years of contract negotiations, industry politics, and business concerns had gradually overshadowed the simple joy of performing. Broadway stripped all of that away. Once the curtain rose, none of the salary debates or studio meetings mattered. There was only the audience, the cast, and the story unfolding in real time. After spending years questioning whether she even wanted to continue acting, she described the experience as reconnecting with the artistic purpose she had almost lost. That sense of authenticity extended to her backstage routine as well. During interviews promoting the production, Taraji revealed something many fans didn't expect. She was doing her own makeup before each performance. Unlike many film sets, where large hair and makeup departments prepare actors, she explained that transforming herself into Bertha Holly had become an intensely personal ritual. Applying her own makeup became part of mentally stepping into the character before walking on stage. She described those quiet moments backstage as essential preparation, allowing Taraji P. Henson to gradually disappear while Bertha Holly emerged. Around the same time, attentive fans began noticing another change. Interviews from early 2026 showed Taraji looking noticeably leaner than she had during the emotionally difficult period surrounding the Color Purple press tour in late 2023. Her face appeared slimmer, her eyes brighter, and her overall appearance healthier. Importantly, this wasn't something that suddenly appeared in one viral photograph. Television interviews, Broadway promotional appearances, and red carpet events throughout the spring all reflected a gradual physical transformation that unfolded over several months. Taraji herself had also revealed another important lifestyle change that offered a perfectly ordinary explanation for at least part of that transformation. She said she had stopped drinking alcohol. Medical experts have long noted that reducing or eliminating alcohol consumption can decrease water retention and facial inflammation, often leading to a leaner appearance as puffiness around the cheeks and eyes gradually subsides. The extent varies from person to person, but it is a well-documented physiological effect. But then, another firestorm erupted. The photos that started a firestorm. It all began with a handful of Instagram photos posted after Game 4 of the 2026 NBA Finals. On June 11, 2026, Taraji shared several photographs from the game, showing herself sitting courtside in a coordinated denim outfit accented with jewelry. In the caption, she celebrated the evening while also revealing that she had styled the look with celebrity stylist Colin Carter and had done her own glam. The photos featured Taraji posing confidently with friends, including hip-hop icon RZA. Initially, the post looked no different from countless celebrity Instagram uploads that appear every day. Fans complimented the outfit, discussed the game, and admired her courtside style. But before long, attention drifted away from the fashion entirely. Instead of asking where the denim outfit came from or talking about basketball, commenters began focusing on something else entirely: her face. Some claimed it looked noticeably slimmer than before. Others believed her nose appeared narrower. Several people insisted her eyebrows looked higher, while others pointed to smoother skin and a more defined jawline. Within hours, netizens were comparing old and new images and debating facial features as though conducting a scientific investigation.
The speed of that transformation is what made the episode remarkable.
Across social media, speculation quickly hardened into assumption. Posts comparing side-by-side images spread across multiple platforms, with some users suggesting facelifts, others mentioning rhinoplasty, and still others proposing fillers or Botox. Taraji soon noticed the growing speculation and decided not to remain silent. Rather than issuing a carefully prepared statement through a publicist, she responded directly in the Instagram comments herself. Her reply left little room for ambiguity. "Y'all kill me with this," she wrote before emphatically adding, "I have done nothing to my damn face." She then pointed to something many online commentators had overlooked entirely: her schedule. At the time, Taraji was performing in Joe Turner's Come and Gone on Broadway, appearing in live theater multiple nights each week. "I am on Broadway," Live theater, when the hell would I have time for a surgery? Just stop the madness. In fact, there are several ordinary explanations for why someone's appearance may change over time without surgery. Lighting conditions can dramatically alter facial contours, particularly under professional arena lighting. Makeup techniques, such as contouring and highlighting, can create the illusion of sharper cheekbones or a slimmer nose. Camera angles, focal length, facial expressions, and digital image processing can all exaggerate or soften features. Weight fluctuations naturally affect facial fullness, and Taraji had already spoken publicly about adopting healthier habits, including quitting alcohol. Medical experts have long observed that reducing alcohol consumption can decrease facial inflammation and water retention, making the face appear leaner. But isn't it tragic? Despite years spent fighting to be recognized for her talent, a couple of photographs managed to overshadow her Broadway comeback. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.